Hey, this is Petra with Wanderlust, helping you to unleash your potential and make a difference across the globe. And today you're in for such a treat because my today's guest truly is a global leader. Hosting the largest developers conference in Europe with 8,000 participants from more than 50 countries in Vienna. We are Developers World Congress. Ben is connecting the world's top tech employers with the brightest developers. He's also the founder of Managers, a platform that provides professionals of large and mid-sized companies with the most important knowledge around the digital transformation of our economy. Also, Ben was awarded the Forbes 30 Under 30 and European Digital Leader by the World Economic Forum. Born and raised in Germany, he has been living and working in several different countries, namely the UK, US, and Switzerland, currently living in Vienna, Austria. Ben, so great to have you here.
Thanks for having me.
Since you are traveling a lot for business, of course, and you're also dealing with different cultures, I'm curious, what is maybe your personal experience with cultural misunderstandings, with cultural differences? Tell us a little bit more about that.
Okay, so I'm an Austrian citizen who grew up in Germany, lived in the UK for a couple of years from the age of like 18 to 22. And coming to Austria was a little bit of a shock because I think that in Austria we do have a high degree of xenophobia. So it's a very small country, and typical for small countries, people are somewhat estranged by cultures that are different than that of the local population. So that took me a while to kind of get accustomed to and accept. But what I really, what I enjoy is that in my company, my business partners and I have created a multilingual, multinational, multi-religion kind of culture. So we speak English in our company. We have a lot of different nationalities. We don't, celebrate Christmas. We celebrate everything there is, and that's nice. And that's what I really enjoy.
That's really cool, and really congratulations on that.
Thanks.
So, as a German living in Austria, what do you think are the main differences between Germany and Austria, between those two countries?
Okay, so the main things that come to mind, and I'm gonna exaggerate it a little bit. The Germans are boring, the Austrians are fun. That it's always like this. When I remember we had customers in Hamburg, and the Austrians would come visit them. They were always really excited because the Austrians are coming and there's Gaudi and it's gonna be fun. The second thing that I observed, especially in my professional life, is that the Germans like to get things done. So if you meet with a German you have a meeting, there's going to be an agenda. There's going to be a goal they've set. There's going to be an expectation of what the result is of the meeting. And you're going to follow through step by step. You're not going to go left. You're not going to go right. You're just going to reach the goal. And then at the end of the meeting, you will have defined a set of tasks. And you will have a timeline. And you will know exactly what you're going to do until when. Yeah. So it really matters what you say and not how you say it. If you have a meeting in Austria, it's a little different. And again, I'm exaggerating. But it matters more how you say things rather than what you say. So it's more about having a nice conversation, getting along, building a relationship. The third thing is nepotism.
Yes.
So prior to our meeting, I looked at the Index of Transparency International, which is the International Corruption Perception Index. And Germany ranks number 10. So it's the 10th least corrupt country perceived, while Austria is number 17. And the problem that we have in Austria is that a lot of senior managers are in positions that they are not qualified for. We call it Freundewirtschaft. So this is something that kills productivity and that really slows down the Austrian economy. It's less common in Germany. We also have this issue with relation to gifts or donations are a big issue. Like You know, if the CEO of a company in the industrial sector gives a donation to the Conservative Party, then he's not doing this because he's such a generous guy. Same thing as if, you know, Tata Corporation in the UK gives a donation to the Labour Party. Yeah. They don't do this because they're, you know, they're just spending money and they have too much. It's because they want something in return.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a really interesting topic. I wonder if you have a personal experience with it, does it make you feel, or how did it make you feel in the past, especially since you don't know it from your own culture?
Yeah, I was recently asked. This was during the political campaign that has been going on in Austria until a couple of weeks ago. Mm-hmm. I was asked whether I want to donate money to one of the parties, you know, okay, and become part of the inner circle. So while I understand that a lot of companies have an incentive to become part of the inner circle because then they are a preferred client of this political party, or one or the other, I don't know. Mm. I wouldn't feel good doing this. Yeah. I mean, what's very common in Austria, and it's especially common in the advertising industry, for example, is this topic of how they call it here is one hand washes the other. Eine Hand wäscht die andere. In other cultures or in other industries, you call it a kickback, or you call it a commission, mm-hmm, a success fee. But what's very common in Austria is that people refer businesses to one another. You know, mm-hmm, they kind of like the real estate brokers get a commission for, you know, being the middleman between the buyer and the seller of a real estate project or of an object. This happens for all kinds of services, and in many situations, this is something that should not be happening because people are getting commissions or success fees, or, you know, they're making money off things they shouldn't be making money of.
Yeah. And since you are, let's say, a foreigner, even though your mother comes from Austria, but it's still, at least you speak the language, mm-hmm, it might be a bit easier for you. I wonder, how about, since you also come from the tech industry, and this is known for lacking experts on the Austrian market as well. I wonder, do you think it's hard for foreigners coming to Austria to maybe integrate and also find business here, especially if they are interested in starting their own businesses?
So I think in order to establish your business in Austria, you need to have a local network. Mm-hmm. It's very difficult if you're not connected with the people in your industry, simply due to the nepotism. In Austria, it's a combination of having the right skills and the right service and the right offering, but also having the right network and the right connections. And if you lack either or, it becomes difficult. Now, we have a lot of people who come to Austria, they establish a great network very quickly. They don't have the skills they need. They can be successful for a certain amount of time, but in the long run, it's not going to work. Mm-hmm. So on the other hand, I think if you come to Austria and you have an amazing product, you're unique, you have a differentiation that's far above what the competition offers, but you lack a network, that's more of a problem. Mm-hmm.
You're also the founder of Managers. Mm-hmm. So you bring maybe the decision maker of the days with the future leaders, mm-hmm, together to connect and to maybe find new ideas for the future. I'm really interested, what do you think is the one skill or the most important skills for the future global leaders?
I think the most important skill is you need to think really big. I see a lot of startups in Austria who focus just on the Austrian market, or they focus just on the German market or on the German-speaking market. So, for example, when we hosted the We Are Developers conference in 2017, that was a couple of months ago, we decided we're going to do an event with 4,000 people. And in order to finance this event, we needed a lot of money that at the time when we were talking about it and doing PR for it and promoting the event, we didn't have this money. So we took the full risk. We said we're doing something. We made a financial plan, and we set up sponsoring packages, we set up ticket prices, we set up a business model that was based on the assumption that we could achieve it, and we went all in. So when we were going live with the idea of doing this event in such a dimension, we really knew that either we will be very successful or we will fail and we will go bankrupt. And we took this risk, and I think this combination of thinking big and taking the risk and going all in is really something that makes you successful.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that, because I really think that in Europe, generally, at least from my experience, we are really afraid of failure, because failure is something really negative. And I love what you said. I think we are learning from our failures too. So since you have so many wonderful experiences working internationally, doing your own business, what is maybe the one key lesson that you've learned over the course of the years that you would like to share with our audience?
So I think one of the most important lessons is you need to differentiate between business and life. And this has several dimensions. One of these dimensions is you have to differentiate between the people you're working with. One of my mentors, he was the CEO of Bank Austria, said, and that was, when you're in a certain position, like you're the CEO of a bank, for example, or the CEO of a big company, you need to realize that you're the dwarf on the shoulder of a giant. And he told me about the situation that a friend of his had, who was a CEO of a big company, and the CEO got laid off. And on the day he got laid off, there was a meeting, and the secretary of this CEO came into the room and she said, "Listen, your meeting has been cancelled." And 5 minutes later she came again and she said, "Listen, the other meeting, it has been cancelled too." And this is something I think, if you have a career, whether you're an employee at a company, whether you're the managing director of the company, you just need to be aware of the fact that in the end, you should not be too dependent on the company. You should not be too dependent on the industry, perhaps. And you should try to build a brand and a network and a business that's related to you as a person and not to you as a company. Another thing that you need to keep in mind is, and there's a saying to this, your boss is not your father, your colleagues are not your friends, you know, your customer is not your cousin. You need to kind of keep in mind that even though you might get along, even though you have a good relationship with one another, you are only in the system as long as you perform. The third thing that I think is really important is that you really focus on keeping a work-life balance, because your work may be an important aspect of your life. It may be something that motivates you. It may be something that gives you unbelievable pleasure and you know, satisfaction. But at the end of the day, I've met a lot of managers who, you know, they're in their 40s, they're in their 50s. They've spent 20 years working like crazy. They may have worked so hard and spent so much time in the offices that they've lost their wives or their husbands, they've lost their kids, they've lost their families, simply because they felt that their work was more important than their private life. And this is something that people, you know, you don't learn this stuff at university. Nobody really teaches you how to have a career and at the same time have a private life. Nobody teaches you how to turn off your phone when you come home in the evening. Nobody teaches you how to, you know, maybe find a job or a career that fits with your private life. I think this is one of the most important things, that you really focus on having this work-life balance that we're talking and reading about in the newspaper every day, and nobody really has an answer to this, in order to really, you know, achieve the goals that you have, both in private and in business.
Such a wonderful message. Thank you so much. Even so seriously, it made me think about my career, my future. I really love that. Thank you so much. It was such a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you.
Now, Ben, I would love to hear from you. So what is the one thing that stuck with you outside of the video? Let us know in the comment section below. Also, don't forget to subscribe to my channel for new videos every week, and I see you next time.
trage natürlich den Anzug für dieses Video. Ich habe mich extra So, warte.
Ben, so great to have you here.